focus on clasps, focals, specialty findings, components, and of course beads. And I show you all of the really cool ways that you can incorporate those into your jewelry making designs, helping to make you a master maker. I apologize, I was about 2 minutes late and I rushed to get in here. So I'm a little out of breath. Give me just a second. Let me catch my breath and we'll get started. Hi, Judy. How are you? I hope that you have had an amazing week so far. And if you haven't, maybe you need a little pick me up. We can do that here, right? We can do that here. Hopefully I'll give you some inspiration. Hi, Cecilia. Hi, Ginger. How are you? It is so good to see so many familiar faces. I love it. Hello, hello to all of you. All right, let's do our housekeeping, shall we? That'll give me a chance to catch my breath. Our housekeeping, as always, guys, is you can hit that shop button at any point during today's show, and it is going to pull up all of the items that are in today's show, and you can get all of the information about those items, plus add those to your shopping cart and check out, all while still watching the show. It just makes me really small. You're not going to lose me, which is wonderful, because sometimes when we navigate away, we have a hard time finding our way back. That's one of the joys of the internet. But here at JTV Extra, we make sure that that does not happen for you, so you can do all of those wonderful things. Check out all of the items and add them to your cart, and actually check out with those, all while still watching the show. However, should you have to leave the show because, you know, life happens, or maybe you have ordered all of your items and they've come to your house and you've forgotten what you were going to do with them, you can always watch this as a video on demand and be re-inspired, which is also pretty awesome, right? All right, one of the other things that I would like to ask you guys is to hit those heart buttons and show love. Anytime you see something in today's show that you are fond of, or love, or excited about, or something new that just you didn't expect to see, right? Hit those heart buttons. It lets me know that you are still out there and that I'm giving you exactly what it is that you want. If you see a product or a technique that you love, hit those heart buttons. And another great way to show your love is to share this anywhere you are able to do so on social media. In other words, if you're part of a Facebook group that allows you to share these kinds of videos, please be sure to share. And if you don't want to share to a group, or you're not part of any groups, you can share to your own social media as well. It is a very easy way to reach makers that don't know about us yet, like virtual word of mouth, right? And the internet is far and wide, right? We can reach every corner of the globe on the internet, and that is going to help us to reach all of the makers out there who maybe don't know about us yet, don't know about Jewel School or JTV or Master Maker or JTV Extra. We want to reach all of those people by sharing the word about not just Master Maker, but JTV Extra and all of the others as well, right? And guys, I don't know if you know this or not. I hope that you do, but if you don't, this is just a little friendly reminder to you that I am not the only maker here on JTV Extra. Check that schedule over on the JTV Extra website or the JTV Extra Facebook page and see all of the other makers and find out when their shows are and set reminders for them, because there is an amazing group of creators that are part of the JTV Extra streaming. And I would love for you to check them out if you've not had a chance to do that. There is tons of inspiration, so plenty to go around. All right, so we've taken care of all of the housekeeping. Now let's talk about what's in today's show. If you will remember last week, we started out with some spooky goodies last week, right? We were making spider webs on our own. I showed you how to take some 18 gauge wire and to create the spider web base, and then I showed you how to wire wrap around it. Well, today I've got something for you that's going to make that a whole lot easier on you. I do have some amazing beads for you to show first, and then some really awesome wire that I'm excited to be using, and then I'm going to show you a way to make that super, super easy. So if last week's project was a little hard for you, this is going to solve all of those problems and is a really cool product that can be used in a lot of different ways. So if you are ready, I know I'm ready. Let's get to it, shall we? I'm going to turn you around and we're going to take a look at what's in today's show. All right, little sneak peek of the wire there. First things first, though. First things first, guys. I have got some beautiful black round agate beads. This is a set of 8 strands, you guys. 8 strands. There are several, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that look to be about 6 to 7 millimeter beads, and then 2 that are smaller that look to be about 4 millimeter beads, somewhere right around there. They are so beautiful. Now listen, if you like black beads but never seem to have enough, that's me. I never have enough black beads for anything, right? I'm always needing black for something. This is a beautiful, natural looking black that isn't just black. If you'll notice, there's a lot of colors in these agate beads other than black. You're going to see some grays, you're going to see some browns, you're going to see some creams. This is a beautiful way to add depth and darkness to your designs, but in the most beautiful and luxurious way, right? I mean, it's not just a flat black, and I don't mean flat as in like shiny versus flat. I mean that in like a very general term. This is not just like a plain old black. This is a black with lots of depth and texture in the way each one of these beads looks, right? Because they're agates, which I have said before is like nature's crayon box, right? You can find agate in any color under the sun, right? And this black is absolutely beautiful. And this is a great way to stock up on it. And listen, I'm not done. This is 8 strands, but this also comes with approximately 12 rondelle beads to go with it. So you've got some chunky monkey beads to work with as well. These are super cool because it is that wonderful rondelle shape that is a little flat on either side, which lends itself to bead caps and wire wrapping and everything in between. It's a really, really versatile bead. This is a great focal. This is a great bead to put in between some of these smaller beads. It's just a beautiful, beautiful set here. So that is, like I said, 8 strands total plus approximately 12 rondelles. That's a lot of beads, guys. If you're looking to stock up, this is you. After you purchase this, 1 or 2 of these, you should never be looking for black beads again. You'd be like, you know what? I have black beads, not just any old black bead. I've got some gorgeous agate beads, right? So pretty. So we're going to be taking a look at these. I'm going to use one of these large rondelles a little bit later for something a little spooky. All right, I'm going to sit these over here to the side. All right. Next up is wire, because who doesn't need wire? And this is a wonderful, wonderful multicolored wire for spooky season. Okay, some of you are like, please stop saying spooky season. It's so lame. I can't help it. This is a fantastic wire for Halloween and all of your spooky designs. But quite honestly, even if you're not into making Halloween designs, this is a beautiful multicolored wire. This is artistic wire, the multicolored silver, gold, and black. And it comes in 3 different gauges. So there is an 18 gauge, which is a little bit more substantial. This is great for making components with. You just want to work harden it just a little bit. Then there is some 20 gauge, which is just a step down, and the 22 gauge. I love it when you can get the 22 gauge and the 20 gauge together, because I found that a lot of people are either or. Right? I used to be, for years, I was a 20 gauge person. I would use 20 gauge for absolutely everything. And then somewhere along the line, I discovered that 22 gauge was wonderful too. And now I'm a 22 gauge person. Well, now you don't have to choose. You can be either or, right? You can be either or, and you've got some 18 gauge wire to create some amazing components with, and to do some thicker wire designs with, and you've got all of your bases covered, right? Plus the fact that it is gorgeous. This artistic wire in the multicolor, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to work with this before, but the transition in the colors is absolutely beautiful. And you can really create some amazing designs where the wire is really the centerpiece of the design. And what a great combination for this time of year, right? That black and silver and gold. You're gonna be able to create all kinds of spooky things with that. So let's talk length here. So the 20 gauge is 25 feet. The 18 gauge is 20 feet. And I believe the 22 gauge is also 25 feet. I may be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain. I cannot find the little, I had the little paper right here. It has slipped off of the desk. I'm sorry. The 22 gauge is 10 yards. So yeah, that's still lots of wire. That's a ton of wire to work with. And you can see there's a lot there. We're going to use quite a bit of this today, and we'll still have tons left over. So this is a great way to stock up on those multicolored wires. It's absolutely beautiful. And of course, you guys know I love artistic wire. All right, so what is the component that we have in today's show? I'm glad you asked. And even if you didn't ask, I'm going to show you anyway, because this is so cool. And this is something that I would not have thought about had it not been for our show planner, Sarah. She decided that this was the perfect addition for the show. And I was like, you know what? You're so right. I never thought about this way. So I have some wire form finding assortments in 4 different sizes. Guys, they're snowflakes. They're snowflakes, just like what we created with our own 18 gauge wire last week, right? You can get these in a set of 4 different sizes, 38 pieces total, and you don't even have to create this part. You can just do the wire wrapping. Or you can still do the wire wrap, or you can still create the snowflake like I showed you last week and just add these to what you've already got. Like, it's cool to be able to do both. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have the ability to say, you know what, I know how to make these like we did last week. Sarah taught me how to make these, and I can make these if I'm in a pinch. I've got some 18 gauge wire. I can do that on my own, but I used up all of those. Now I want some more, but I just don't have the time, and I need some spider webs real quick. Then you've got these that are already made for you. So they come in, like I said, 4 different sizes. Now this large one, it's so large, I'm having a hard time showing the whole thing here. I'll have to raise this up just a little bit to show you. So the largest one is a 9-inch. That is from top to bottom, right? So from snowflake tip to snowflake tip. And yeah, these are snowflakes, but guys, we're going to use these as a spider web. I'm going to show you a couple of different webs that I put together, and then we're going to put together a little spider to go with ours, right? So this is the largest one. This is the 9-inch. There are 8 of these. There is a 6-inch. There are also 8 of these as well. So this is just a little bit smaller. And then our 2 smaller sizes are a 4.5-inch and a 3.75-inch. So this is the smallest one here, and this is the next one. I know it's kind of hard to tell when I've got them all kind of stacked up here, but I'll show you. These are the 2 smaller versions of this. Now, these are going to be great for the holidays as far as creating actual snowflakes with. You're going to be able to thread on some beautiful beads onto these, or some of those black agate beads that I just showed you if you just want to bead these up and make wonderful things out of them. But this also doubles as a great base for a spider web, which is exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today, right? So really, really cool that these are already ready for you. As far as the smaller ones are concerned, I think I mentioned with the 2 larger sizes, you get 8 each. For the 4.5-inch ones, you get 12 of those, and the 3.75-inch ones, you get, 12 of those and 10 of the other. I'm all over the place today, guys. I'm sorry. It's definitely a Friday. Thanks for being patient with me. But that's 4 different sizes. So you've got all the way down to the small one, which is going to look beautiful, like hanging on your Christmas tree if you wanted to make snowflakes with them. Or these great big ones that are going to be great for craft projects, right? Not just spider webs. If you want a great big spider web, though, that is definitely going to make a statement. I don't know that I'd wear that as a pendant. I might with a smaller one, though. I'll be honest with you, the smallest size here, because you can trim this down, right? You don't even have to use every single bit of this. You could fill this up about halfway and create a loop, trim off the other ends, maybe put loops on those if you want to hold your beads on there, depending on if you've wire wrapped them or not, right? And you can make some smaller designs here that can really be created. It really could be jewelry instead of a craft project, right? So it's kind of cool that you've got a little bit of everything as far as what's possible here. So this doesn't just have to be for crafts. You just use the smaller inner part of this and create some earrings or a pendant or the center of a bracelet. Pretty cool. All right, so since it is Friday the 13th in October, I thought we should make some spiders. To go on our webs, check these little guys out. How cute are they? Using some of that multicolored wire, one of those beautiful agate large rondelles, we're going to create a spider to go with our spider web. So I want to show you, I've got three different variations of the spider web. This one being my favorite. I'm going to show you how to do this one. This is a lot more loose and open than the ones that we did last week. If you'll remember, the ones we did last week looked more like this, which I've used one of the smaller snowflake frames for. And I did the exact wire wrapping technique that we did last week, where it's all very, very tight, which is a really cool look. You do get to see all of the beautiful transitions of the colors of that multicolored wire. Very, very cool. But then this one is just a little different because it's open. It's a little bit more whimsical. It's not straight lines. It's kind of funky. It's very organic looking. Really, really like that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I've got another option here that's sort of like Viking knit almost, just in the sense of how we've kind of wrapped around the spokes of our snowflake here. So you've got a lot of options. You don't have to stick with just one thing. You can use that wire in any way to go back and forth between the spokes on this frame. So you've got a lot of options, and then you can always create some cute little spooters. I like to call them a spooter because I'm not a spider person. I'm just not, but this guy is super cute. This little spooter on this little web, how cute is that? That's adorable. And you don't even have to use black. We're using black because we've got those beautiful agate beads, but you could make your spiders sparkly if you wanted to. You know, you could use something else. You could use some rose quartz and make him a sweet little spider. He doesn't have to be spooky, right? He doesn't have to be a creepy little guy. But I do want to show you just real quick how to get this started. We're not going to do the whole thing because it does take a little bit of time to fill up the entire frame with our spider web. And then I'm going to show you how to put together a little spider. You don't have to use the exact same beads that I'm using in today's show. However, you do have a ton of those beads to work with all 8 strands plus the 12 rondelles. So plenty to work with. You can make a ton of spiders out of those. All right, so for this one, the frame that I used was one of the kind of the medium size. I believe this is the 6-inch. Let me double check. Yeah, so this is the 6-inch frame. And I used some of the 20 gauge wire for this. So I used a little chunkier, a little bit thicker wire. Now it is actually the exact same technique that we used last week. It's just spaced open a little bit more. And you'll see those wire wraps that I've done, they're very open. They're not tight together like these. When you look at the back of this one, you can see how tight and close together those wire wraps are. It's this, just more open. So let's do a couple of passes of this, and then let's work on our little spider here. I'm gonna put him up here. He's gonna hang out right up here in the top of our screen. How about that? All right, so we're gonna use some of this 20 gauge wire for this, and I'm going to work directly off the spool because I don't know exactly how much wire I'm gonna need for this. I do know that to get started, it's always a little tricky. The first little bit of this is always a little bit kind of wonky, just because you kind of have to hold everything in place, and you want to be careful that you don't mess up your snowflake by pulling too tightly. So I'm just going to wind that around like once or twice. Well, that was more like 3 times. Knowing that I can come back to this and undo it and tighten it up at any point. Okay, so just as long as your wire is anchored, that's all you really, really need to worry about. You don't want to make these like super tight little wraps, because you want to be able to come in and clean this up later if you need to, right? And then kind of keep that tail out of the way. And I'm going to keep that kind of open airiness as I make my way around. So I'm just going to kind of wrap my wire around once, wrap it around a second time. Again, just keeping it kind of loose and open. And then I'm going to hop over to the next little spoke here and wrap around again, and then move on to the next. So this does not have to be tight. This can be as open and as loose as you want it to be. It's very forgiving as well, because it's a spider web, right? It's organic. It doesn't have to be this perfect wire wrapped thing. You can really let yourself enjoy this and not put any pressure on yourself to make it look a certain way, right? I definitely don't think the spider puts any pressure on themselves. So I'm just going from one spoke to the next. And again, I'm just keeping it loose, keeping it kind of airy and open. I'm going to be able to fix this later. I'm right back here where we started again. I'm going to wrap around and around again. So I do one full wrap and then I come back up again like I'm going to wrap around a second time, but I hop over to the next spoke here. Gina says this is so much fun. Thank you, Gina. I think it is too. I'm really enjoying being able to do these kind of fun, whimsical projects with you guys. I feel like a lot of times we're very serious and, you know, we're really focusing on techniques, but it's fun to just kind of relax a little bit and remember the things about jewelry making that we love, you know, and remind ourselves that we don't have to take things so seriously all the time. Sometimes we can really just have fun with it, you know, and if you are struggling with creative block, a little project like this where it doesn't take a whole lot of, I don't want to say that it doesn't take a lot of brain power, because I mean it does, but what I mean is that you don't have to sit here and be super, super hyper focused on this, right? You can sit and just kind of wrap this around, and maybe you've got your favorite music playing in the background. Maybe you're watching a Halloween movie for the season. Maybe not. Maybe it's completely quiet and you're just trying to decompress. This is a good way to just kind of let go a little bit. And you're still creating something fun. You're also getting practice by getting a really good feeling for how the wire feels. Switching the wire gauge up a little bit, using that 22 gauge and then doing one of these in the 20 gauge really kind of shows you the difference in the way those wires feel. I think a lot of times we take for granted those two numbers are so close together that we just assume that they are very similar wires. They are, but they do behave very differently in your hands, and depending on what it is that you're doing with them, right? And this is just a really easy, good way to get comfortable with the wires, particularly if you're not super confident in your wire working skills. There's no pressure here, right? We're just making something fun. So I do love using the multicolored wire for this. I think that it is fantastic. And I do want to make one of the huge ones. I have not yet used one of those great big ones, the 9-inch frames. I've not done that yet, but I would love to take one of those 9-inch frames and fill it up with this multicolored wire. I think it would be absolutely beautiful. Maybe pop some Chinese crystals on it for a little bit of sparkle and hang it in the window. I think that would be awesome. Right? It's so much fun, and there's not any pressure here to make it look a certain way, right? It looks more like you would find it outside with an actual spider on it, but without the actual spider, thankfully. I don't know about you, but that's the part I can live without. The spider webs, that's pretty cool, right? I love to see a spider web in the morning with dew on it, kind of shimmers. It's just so wonderful to look at through the window. I don't want to go walking into one, even if I don't visually see the spider there. You know, you just know he's there somewhere. But yeah, I do think spider webs are quite beautiful. The spider part, that's the part I can live without. But we're going to make a cute little spooter. We're not even going to call him a spider. We're going to make a spooter here in just a second. So I'm going to do a couple more passes of this just to show you how easy it is to very quickly work up a cute little web here for your spooter. Right? And I'm not pulling tight or anything. I'm just being very loose and open with this. And at any point I can stop and kind of readjust the wires if I want to, right? I don't have to stick to any rules with any of this. All right, let's go ahead and cut our wire off. So we're going to trim that. Now I could keep going. It wouldn't take very long. But then down here where we very first got started, if you want to clean that up just a little bit, you can. You can either tighten it up and cut it off, or you can trim one whole layer of that off, which I think I'm going to do. So I just cut all that up. I made it nice and open in the middle. If you wanted to put some beads in there, you could. You could take some of these beautiful agate beads. Let's do that. Just as an example, because this can be beaded. Nobody said that it can't, right? If we wanted to put some beads down on this, we could add some beautiful agate beads to this to give it a little something extra, right? And then you could just finish that off with a simple loop if you wanted to hold those beads in place. Let's just take this wire and see. So we're just gonna bend it. Now this is pretty sturdy wire, so it may take a little extra. Oh yeah, that's some strong stuff. So I'm using my heavy duty cutters for this. You definitely don't want to use like your blue handled cutters, because this is really, really strong stuff. And you can make a loop with it, but it does take a little extra strength there. Use my chain nose pliers to close that up. But now I've got a loop that I can hang this. I can hang it in the window. I can just leave it, and it's a good way to hold my beads in place, right? So many possibilities here. And don't forget, these are actually 4 snowflakes. So maybe you're not quite ready to make any holiday decorations yet, but guys, winter is going to be around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it. So it's always a good idea to be planning ahead, right? If you want to make some really cool, beautiful snowflakes, maybe to put in your craft booth to have these hanging up, they can either just be decorations, or you could sell them right out of your booth if you wanted to. They'd be absolutely beautiful. Fill these up with some of your favorite gemstones. Oh, be so, so pretty. All right, so we need a spider, right? We need a spider to go with this. So let's put together a little spider. This is not a little spider. I'll be honest with you. This is a large little spider. And if I happen to come across a spider this big in real life that wasn't made out of beads, I'm just going to give it the house. I'm just saying, like, if I see this guy in the bathroom, it's fine. I'll transfer the title over. It's yours. Okay. Just keep the house. Keep the house. That's a big guy. But fortunately for us, we're going to make ours out of wire, so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to use some 22 gauge wire to create our little spider here. And I'm going to cut, you're going to need about 30 to 40 inches, kind of just depending on how big you want your spider to be. I'm going to go with about 40 inches just because I want to be sure that I have plenty of wire to work with. This is not one of those projects where it is easy to add wire. It's not. So it's way better to have what you need than to try to add wire to this later. All right, now I'm going to use my large bell making pliers for this to create a loop for this little section right here that you don't actually see. It's on the bottom. However, if you don't have the large bell making pliers, you can use your stepped bell making pliers, one of the wooden dowel mandrels that we've had in the show, or just anything that you've got around your desk that is going to work. What you're looking for is about a 10 millimeter circle. Okay, so we're going to take our wire and we're going to bring our 2 ends together, find the middle. And you know what? I don't think I cut quite enough wire. Let's do this one more time. So we want to find the middle of that wire, and we're going to place the middle of that wire onto whatever mandrel you're going to use, or your large bell making pliers, if that's what you're going to be using. And we're going to make a loop. All right, so let's find the middle. Okay. And we're going to wrap that wire around that mandrel, and we're going to go around twice. Okay. So that you've got a double loop here. And then before you take this off of the tool, you want to twist this like a bread tie. So you're just going to take those 2 wires together, and you're just going to give them about 2 good twists. Okay, then you're going to take this off of the tool, and you've got a loop here that's doubled. Okay. Now, bring your two ends together, and you're going to thread both wires through your bead that's going to be the main big body part, right? The largest part of your spider. So you want to go ahead and thread that on and pull that down and pull it over those wire twists if they will fit. You just don't want to distort your loop too much. Now, even if it does come out just a little bit, you can always kind of put it back on the tool and clean it back up if you need to. Okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take, we've got two wires coming out the end of our spider, right? We're going to take one of those wires and we are going to guide it up the side of the bead to our loop, and we're going to wrap around our loop once. So we didn't actually wrap all the way around. We went up and around, and now our wire is coming out from behind our loop. Okay, you can see the working wire is coming out from underneath. All right, now we're going to take our wire. You have to be kind of gentle about this. We're going to take our wire through the center of our loop, and we're going to wrap around the outer edge of our circle once. Okay. All right, now you're going to need a ruler for this part. Okay, you may only need your ruler once, but you do need a ruler for this. So from the edge of your loop where your wire is coming out here to 1 inch, if 1 inch is what you're going for. Now listen, you're going to be twisting these legs because that's what we're about to do. We're about to make the legs. We're going to be twisting those, so they are going to shorten up just a little bit. If 1 inch is too long for a leg, come down to like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. I think I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to bend that wire just to kind of mark it, right? I haven't done anything else with it, but I've marked it at that 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to fold that wire over just like that. Okay, I'm going to take the tail end of that wire, and I am going to very gently, without messing up my leg here, I'm going to go back through my circle. Okay. And then I'm going to wire wrap around my circle one more time. So taking again the tail of the wire through the circle and then wire wrapping. Okay. So there's one leg, and it doesn't look like much right now. You're going to have to just trust the process. This is going to look really silly until we get all the way through. Okay. All right. Now, I don't necessarily need to use my ruler again. I can just use my finger and kind of bring it up here to where the bend in that wire is and use it to mark my finger to fold my wire over again. So I'm using the previous leg to measure the next leg. Now, if you want your legs to be different lengths, say you want your 2 front legs to be long, your 2 back legs to be long, and you want the 2 legs in between to be a little bit shorter, you definitely can do that. I kind of just stick to making them all the same length just because it saves me the frustration of having to use that ruler over and over again. I'm not one for measuring. I'm more of an eyeball it kind of person. Which is not always the best, but with this it works. So I just like to keep the legs all the same size. So I'm going to wrap around the loop again. So you're making a leg and then you're just securing it with a wire wrap, basically. Okay, so there's 2 legs. I'm going to straighten out the wire again, use my finger to kind of mark. We're going to bend that wire. That one was a little bit longer. Let's try that again. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect because again, we're going to twist this. So it's really going to kind of make things tighten up and look a lot better. So you don't have to worry so much if they're perfect or not. They can be off by just a little. It's not that big of a deal. All right, then we're going to wrap around our little circle again. Kind of pushing my wire over, trying to tighten everything up. I've got 3 legs, but they're all squished together at the moment. That's okay. Go through again. And then I am going to kind of squish those over. All right, we're ready for leg number 4. So again, kind of marking with my finger, bending the wire, bringing it back to the circle. My wire's getting a little short here. I'm going to wrap around. If you need to use your pliers, there's no reason why you can't. Okay. All right, now I've got 4 legs here. Right, they're all about the same length. Now I'm going to wrap around about 2 more times, and then I'm going to do the little front, his little fangs here in the front. Okay, and they are much, much shorter than the legs. And I want those to be more kind of centered with what is going to be another bead here. So I need to wire wrap over just a little bit. So I'm going to go through my circle once. I'm going to go through my circle one more time. Okay. And now I'm going to make my little fang for the front. Okay. And I'm going to bend that one over. Now I didn't measure anything, but it is more like about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit shorter than 1/4 of an inch. So just to kind of give you an idea, like these are almost an inch and this one is about 1/4 of an inch. So just a lot shorter. You don't want to make it too short though, because we still want to twist it. So make sure you've left yourself enough wire to twist with. Now you will notice that our wire here that we're using is getting really, really short. So I definitely recommend using your pliers at this point. All right, now I'm going to trim this wire off, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So we've got to do 4 more legs. Okay. All right, now the difference on the other side is this. We are going to go down the side of the bead, just like we did with the other, but this time we're not going to wrap around our circle. We're going to go straight through the center of our circle. So we're not wrapping around the outer edge or anything like that. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap all the way around one more time. And then we will be in position to start making the spider legs on this side. All right. It is looking more spidery. Definitely starting to look a little bit more like a spider, right? We're getting there. All right, now I do want to bring the ruler back out again, because I have a tendency when I eyeball this to make my spider's legs shorter on one side than the other. I don't know why. If I don't measure and I just try to eyeball it, I always mess them up. So I definitely want to measure to make sure that they are as close to the same length as possible. But I only need to measure that once, because I can always use that leg to measure the next leg. All right, so we're doing the same thing. Taking the wire through the loop and then wire wrapping one time. And you may need to use your fingers, kind of scoot everything over. When the wire is long like this, it's a little tricky. It's not hard, it's just, you just want to be sure that you're not getting any major kinks in your wire or anything like that. Okay, we're ready to make leg number 2. So just bending the wire over, going through our loop. Then wrapping around our component, just gonna scoot everything over a little bit. That leg looks like it got a little short. Let's try to fix this one. If you need to come in with like your nylon jaw pliers to straighten this back out, you can. But remember, you're going to be twisting these legs. So they don't have to be perfect. If the wire is already kind of crooked and wrinkly, that's okay, because when you do the twisting, you're not going to notice any of those things once you get it twisted. So it's a very, very forgiving kind of project. Those legs look a little crazy in the beginning. It's okay. All right. Back around again. Jessica says, making cute little spooters. Yes, we are making cute little spooters. All right, now we are ready for the next leg. That one was a little bit of a challenge. I'm one of those people, like, one side, it's sort of like I don't know if anybody else is like this. When you go to put on your eyeliner, one eye always looks great and the other eye just never wants to behave. That's kind of the way I feel with my spiders. Like, one side is always good. The other side is always a little bit more of a challenge for whatever reason. And I think it's just because I'm trying to be gentle. I don't want to crush the legs that I've already made over here, but for whatever the reason, it's always a little bit more tricky to get the second set of legs going and get them nice and tight. I think I'm just trying to be a little too careful here. Okay, there's leg number 3. Okay, so we're going to tighten. Okay, and we're ready for leg number 4. It's the last leg on this side. And then we're going to make our way over to make that little fang. And then the fun part. All right, so just tightening up. Okay, and making my way over here. To make my little fang, just like so. And then using my pliers, because my wire is very, very short at this point. I'm going to wrap around one more time and then I'm going to trim this. Okay. And try to pull my little fang back out there. Okay, then we're going to trim that off. All right, now's the fun part. Now we're going to separate out all of these little legs. Okay, looking very much like a spider now, right? Okay, now we're going to take our pliers and we are going to grab the tip of each one of the legs, just a little teeny tiny grab at the end, and we're going to twist, and I'm going to twist the whole spider. So twist, 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 and you can make them as tight as you want them to be, okay? And what you end up with is a little toe bean right at the end. That little toe bean you can attach a jump ring to, or you can wire wrap it to something else, but you've got a little loop at the end. You're going to have a little toe bean loop at the end of every single one of the legs. So we're going to do the next one. Grab and twist. Oops. Okay, and then we're going to do, well, this one's not as tight as the other. Let's twist this one a little bit more. Again, such a cool way to see that multicolored wire. To twist this wire, it's really cool. Really, really cool stuff. All right, on to the next. Got your little toe bean on the end. Okay, so one side of the legs, they're all nice and twisted. We're going to go to the other side, do the same thing over here. That leg is most definitely shorter than that one, but you know what? I won't tell anybody if you won't. That can be our little secret, okay? Let's just keep that between friends here. It was that last leg. I don't know. It's just a little difficult, more difficult on that side. It's like trying to do your eyeliner. That one side just doesn't match. It's not exactly the same. Trying as hard as you can, and it's still just a little off. All right, so now we twisted all the legs up, okay? And we're gonna twist his little fangs up too. Or you can leave the fangs if you want. You don't have to twist this part. If yours are really short, you may not even have enough to really twist, but if you can and you want to, you can twist them around a couple of times. Okay. All right, now you can see my wire needs to be tucked a little bit. And fortunately for us, or at least for me, because that little wire doesn't want to tuck, a bead is going to go over the top of that, so you're not really going to notice a whole lot. Now, before I do anything else to the legs, because I am going to shape up the legs, you can see I'm going to put little bends in them just to give him a little bit more of a realistic look. Each leg's got a bend. Before I do that though, I'm going to add the other bead here. So I'm going to take a bead that's going to fit right on the top there, and I'm going to take a scrap piece of wire, if you've got one, just your leftovers from where you were making those legs, or you can cut yourself another short little piece. But I'm going to wire wrap this between two legs on this side. Now, it's already pretty crowded with wire wraps. That's okay, because the spider is going to sit on the top of it, so you're not really going to see it much. And that is good, because we don't have enough room to just wire wrap this directly to the loop. There is no choice but to wire wrap this over the wraps that already exist. So if it's a little thick and chunky for you, just know you're not really going to notice it much once you get that bead on there. All right, so I've wire wrapped twice, and I'm going to thread on my bead. What is a toe bean? So you know how you look at the bottom of a cat's foot, and you know the pads on the bottom of a cat's foot? So the one big pad, that's their paw pad, right? But each little toe has a little pad underneath it. And for whatever reason here in the South, and it must be a Southern thing, we call those toe beans because they look like little beans. And so naturally my spider has little toe beans, of course. Listen, anything I can do to make this spider less creepy, to make it a little more friendly of a spider, if it needs toe beans so that I can be like, oh, look at its toe beans, instead of, oh my gosh, gross, it's a spider, that's what we're gonna do. I love that not everybody knows what toe beans are. That cracks me up. That's fantastic. All right, so we're going to wire wrap. And this was a little loose. So you just want to lay your bead down and then wire wrap it with a wrap or two. Gonna wrap one more time, and then I'm gonna pull this tight and trim it off. It's just a little crowded. So first of all, I need to go ahead and trim this tail off. And I'm trying to slide the wire between the little frame of the spider's body and the bead. So I'm having to find like a little opening. And then I'm just gonna grab that wire with my pliers if I can and pull. And then I'm gonna trim that off. Okay, give everything a good once over. Make sure everything looks the way I want it to look, and my bead is centered up as much as possible. Now I'm going to bend my legs. So I bend them straight up first, And then I'm going to use my pliers to give them a little knee, if you will. And then I'm also going to kind of flatten out the toe bean. We'll never look at spiders the same way again. Like, where are the toe beans on that spider? You know he's a friendly spider if he has toe beans, okay? I do like taking the legs and putting them straight up and down though, because it looks like he's like in shock. Oh my gosh! And he threw his hands up in the air. Right? Is that silly? I can't help it. I can't help it. That's all right. I always am just keeping it real here, guys. Always. I am very cheesy and I laugh at my own jokes, and I like it when my spider looks surprised. He raises his toe beans up in the air. All right. And you'll notice I'm doing 2 legs at a time. Like I'm one on one side and one on the other side. You really don't have to do them that way. You can just do one at a time. Whatever makes you happy. But I am giving them a little bit of a bend and then flattening out that foot just a little bit so that whatever surface I put him on, he's going to be a little bit more stable. However, you can use those little toe beans, like I said, as a place to put a jump ring. So if you wanted to hang him from something and make him the dangle, or you wanted to wire wrap him to your spider web that we put together using our awesome frames, you could just take a little piece of wire, stick it through one of those toe beans and wrap it onto your spider web, right? So you've got a little spider hanging out, or 2. They're kind of creepy. I'm not gonna, even the toe bean doesn't take away the fact that these are just kind of spooky, but they're fun, right? They're fun. They are not alive. We don't have to worry. If I saw a spider that big, I would scream, but fortunately for us, these are made out of some beautiful beads and that gorgeous artistic wire. I'm a fan. Oh my goodness. Too cute, right? That's a fun little project. And don't forget, guys, those wire forms come in 4 different sizes. So this wasn't even the biggest one. There's one more size up, that 9-inch one. That's nice and big. It's going to be perfect for like actual crafts and decorations. You can make a big snowflake out of that, or a really large spider web that you could put in a window. You could hang in front of a mirror with a little vignette of some other like creepy little things for spooky season. Or you can just, you can use them for the base of anything else, right? You could really use anything on these. You don't even have to do this with wire. You could quite honestly do this with cord if you wanted to. You could use embroidery thread and make some really beautiful, like what are they called? Like a God's eye. You guys seen those before? That like they kind of remind me of summer camp. We used to make them out of popsicle sticks and embroidery floss in lots of colors. So this frame has a lot of options, just like the one that I showed you last week that we made on our own. So now we've got the opportunity to either do the frame yourself, like I showed you last week, or you can buy the frame pre-made, and you've got the skills to use them either or, right? Which is pretty cool. So there you go, guys. I think it would look really cool in the window as a sun catcher. I agree. And I still am a huge fan of popping some crystals or some little sparkly beads in between here, just so that it really does catch the light, right? You can pretend like our spiders, instead of eating flies, they like crystals. They have, they have discerning taste like we do. They like sparkle just as much as the rest of us. So pop some sparkles in there, your little sparkly flies. This show is just too weird. I'm gonna turn you around. Oh my goodness. This has definitely been an entertaining master maker for the week. Let me hold up the spider web here so you can really kind of get an idea of the size. It's always good to kind of like see it next to something as big as my head. So this is that 6-inch. And then of course, putting our little spider up here, you can see how large he is, right? And then if you want to see the larger, where are the large frames at? Grab one to show you the big frame It's a little bit better to see it this direction so you really get an idea of how big that is. That's big, right? That is a really, really large frame. So you're going to be able to make really big spider webs or really big snowflakes with this, or this can be the base of just about anything, like I said. So this one's nice and large. It's going to be great for your craft projects. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed today's project, making our spider webs, our little spiders. It's definitely been an adventure for me. Not ever something I ever thought I would be doing here on JTV Extra, but I gotta say, it made me smile. I hope it made you smile. Don't forget about the beautiful multicolored artistic wire and those beads. I know we talked a lot about those frames, but that was the perfect complement. That multicolored wire really was the perfect complement to go with those frames. And of course, those agate beads, guys, those are going to be great not just for your spooky month projects, but for any projects, right? I can never have enough black beads, and the agates are wonderful because it's not just a plain black, it's a black that really has some depth and texture visually to it that I think is really going to be a nice addition to any of your jewelry making. So all right, guys, that is it for me this week. I hope that you have enjoyed as I mentioned. Gina says, thank you so much. My face is hurting from smiling and laughing. That's my goal. I'm glad. I'm really glad. I was a little worried, right? Anytime somebody says spiders, that's either a crowd pleaser or one that makes everybody leave. And so I was glad to have y'all stick around for this project. I hope that you enjoyed it. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. It is Friday the 13th. Go do something spooky for spooky season, right? And I will be back with you guys on Monday for the Monday edition of Master Maker at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are continuing our journey through macrame. We're going to be working on square knots and all of the cool things you can do with square knots on Monday, so you don't want to miss that. And then I will be back with you on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, same place, with another fun Friday edition of Master Maker for you guys. All right, so I will see you soon. Enjoy, guys. Bye.